You're 18, backing a rented U-Haul into your mom's driveway. You're moving her couch across town, and the truck costs $39.95 a day. Between that morning and the top of this trade sits a Class A license and a permit binder thick enough to prop a door. You throw straps over hot steel, cross chains under a heavy frame. You count axles against a bridge formula and walk a span on foot before you cross it. 15 years later, you gross $500,000 a year, moving one piece of freight. The freight gets heavier as you climb, and the paperwork gets heavier faster. You start by strapping a mattress to a plywood wall. You end by easing 1,470,000 pounds across a bridge at walking speed. This is every level of heavy-haul trucking in America and what it actually costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The boat ramp and a rented box truck. You're 18, and the counter clerk hands you a key on a plastic fob. The truck outside is 26 feet long, and it costs 59 to 99 cents a mile on top of the day rate. The lot smells like hot vinyl and old cardboard. You walk the box first, phone out, photographing every dent so nobody bills you for it later. The cargo door rolls up on a corrugated aluminum wall with tie rails running its whole length. You load heavy over the axle. Dresser first, washer second, boxes last. Your uncle told you that, and your uncle was right. You ratchet the couch to the rail with a cam strap, and the plastic clatters as it cinches down. The mattress goes up in the overhead nook, wrapped and bungeed. The straps are cheap, and the load is not. Then you drive, and everything you thought you knew about braking is wrong. You touch the pedal at the on-ramp, and the load shoves you forward from behind. It's a queasy push in the small of your back, so you brake earlier. And you leave 4 car lengths, then 6. By the 3rd mile, you're reading traffic 2 blocks ahead instead of 2 cars ahead. That lesson costs you nothing but a scare. The next weekend, it's the boat trailer behind your dad's pickup. You hook the ball mount and cross the safety chains underneath. You check the tongue weight, 10 to 15%, because a light tongue turns a trailer into a pendulum. Trailer sway is the word for it, and you only need to feel it once. The truck is rated to tow 10,000 pounds, and you are nowhere near that. At the ramp, there's a line of trucks behind you. Every driver in it has done this 1,000 times. You cut the wheel the wrong direction, then the right one. You put it straight down the concrete on the second try. The guy in the pickup behind you lifts 2 fingers off his steering wheel. That's the whole ceremony. And nobody teaches you any of this. You return the box truck with the needle exactly where you found it, inside 24 hours, no second day charged. Then you start reading the sides of trucks on the interstate. Somewhere out there is a load nobody can rent at a counter. You want to know who moves it, and Level 2 costs $7,995. Level 2. The Class A and the first seat. You write a check for $7,995 to a school that runs entry-level driver training. The federal rule took effect February 7, 2022, and nobody gets around it. The classroom smells like carpet glue and dry erase marker. An instructor draws an air brake system on the whiteboard until the tray fills with dust. Then you're out on the pad at 7 in the morning. The pre-trip inspection is a recitation, not a look. Brakes and lights, leaks and hoses, slack adjusters, said out loud, in order, every time. Miss the cracked airline, and you failed the whole test. The air brakes charge at dawn with a hiss and a pop. You'll hear that sound every working morning for the rest of your life. You learn the 10-speed by matching engine revolutions to road speed. For a week, you grind every gear on the property. Then one morning, you don't grind a single one. The examiner signs the sheet, and you carry a Class A out to your car. Your first seat is over the road, 100 nights a year in a sleeper. The pay sits at the bottom of the whole trade. The lowest 10% of heavy truck drivers made less than $38,640. Stay 2 years, and you climb toward $47,000, which is still under the median. Dispatch hands you a hot load with an appointment that cannot be met legally. You run it on the clock the law gives you, 11 hours driving inside a 14-hour window. You arrive late, and you are still right. The electronic logging device does not negotiate, and neither does the receiver. You sit at a dock in Ohio for 5 hours with nothing to do. Then you deadhead 300 miles, because the backhaul fell through. Your orientation class had 22 people in it. Annualized turnover at the big carriers ran 92.7%. By your first anniversary, you can name only 4 of them who are left. A trainer corrects your following distance exactly once, hard, at a wet interchange outside Indianapolis. You never sit that close to a bumper again. You stop checking the mirror to see if the trailer is still there. At 3 in the morning, the fuel island smells like diesel and burnt coffee. You pull your first settlement out of the cash machine, and it clears. An owner-operator named Rufus Morris runs a truck under his own name at Midnight Rider Transport. He always wanted to start out driving one and owning one. You want the load nobody at the truck stop can take. That load rides on a flat deck. Level 3. The flat deck. Flatbed pays a premium over dry van for one reason. Nothing on your trailer has walls. In June, the national average flatbed spot rate hit $3.69 per mile, an all-time high. The first morning, you're handed a 4-inch winch strap and a winch bar. The job is to throw the strap over a steel coil without hitting the man on the other side. You miss. You throw again. You crank the winch bar until the strap sings, and the edge protector bites into the coil's shoulder. The winch bar is a 3-foot lever, and it does not forgive a slipped grip. Then it's chain. Grade 70 transport chain. 6,600 pounds working load limit stamped into every link. You run it frame to frame through a skid steer and draw it tight with a ratchet binder. The math is federal, and it is not optional. Your aggregate working load limit has to be at least half the cargo weight. You count tie-downs by the length of the thing you are holding. In January, the chain bites your bare hands and every binder handle is frozen in place. You warm the handle until it moves. You tarp a lumber load in a crosswind, and the vinyl cracks like a rifle shot each time it fills. An old hand watching from his own deck shows you the trucker's hitch, 1 loop and a pull, and your tarping time falls by half that same afternoon. Then comes the scale house. You roll onto the platform outside Effingham and the light goes red. An inspector walks the whole trailer with a flashlight and a clipboard. He finds 1 winch strap cut through half its width. 1 damaged strap drops your aggregate limit under the line, and he puts the truck out of service on the spot. You sit in the gravel for 3 hours replacing straps out of the sidebox. The load is legal cargo held by illegal hardware, and it isn't going anywhere. Trucks roll past you on the ramp all afternoon. The fine is small. The lost day is not. You rebuild the entire securement system in that lot, strap by strap, counting out loud. Nobody is watching you count. You count anyway. After that, the 50-mile recheck is a stop on your route, not a suggestion. On the next load, steel coil again out of Gary, you pull in at mile 50 and find the front chain slack by 2 inches. The coil moved. That is what the rule is for, and you learn it in your hands instead of on paper. You retension, you check again at 150, and that load never shifts again. 6 weeks later, you pass a full roadside inspection with 0 securement violations. The inspector hands the sheet back without a word. That sheet goes in the door pocket and stays there. It is proof you can hand somebody in 10 seconds. You start reading a load before you ever touch it. Where the weight sits, where it wants to go in a panic stop, what holds it at 0.8 G. That is the trade now. Chicken lights and a clean deck. An owner-operator named Ruben Dotto runs a step deck out of Central Florida hauling heavy equipment, and a trade magazine named him Trucker of the Month for doing exactly that work. The machines on his deck ride down in well, not up on a flat surface. You want that trailer. Level 4 costs $93,000. Level 4. The Lowboy. A used removable gooseneck Lowboy with a broken-in deck runs about $93,000. It becomes the most expensive thing you have ever signed for. The bank paperwork takes longer than the loading does. The trailer is the business now, and the truck just pulls it. The rating on the neck is 110,000 pounds, and every pound of it is spoken for. You pull the pin, run the pony motor, and the whole gooseneck walks down onto the pavement. The deck settles onto blocks with a hydraulic whine. You learn the sound of hydraulics working right. A veteran leaning on his fender tells you to walk the neck down slow. Rush them and they slam, so you never rush it again. Grease from the neck pins ends up on your forearms. Then you drive a dozer up the beaver tail into the well. The tracks ring on the steel like a struck bell. The deck groans as 40 tons settles across it. You chain the machine frame to frame at 4 corners, binders set, blade down, cylinders retracted. First month, you misjudge the beaver tail angle on a low excavator. The belly pan high centers halfway up the ramp. You stop. You crib it up with dunnage. Reapproach at a shallower angle off the shoulder, and walk it in clean. Nothing bent. Nobody saw. You measure everything after that. 13 feet 6 inches decides whether you go under the bridge or around the whole county. So you know your load height before you know your route. You walk the load twice before you touch the truck. Then come the axles. A flip axle is a fold-out axle that buys you weight. You set one to spread the load and shim the ride height for clearance. You run the numbers against the bridge formula before you leave the yard. Every state counts your axle groups a little differently. At the scale, you are legal on every group by a few hundred pounds. The light goes green, and nobody claps, and you just breathe out. Nobody on the ground knows what that costs you. You stop calling it a truck. A hauler named Doug Shiljan spent 39 years moving heavy equipment for one carrier. His loads usually ran between 80,000 and 120,000 pounds. He put it plainly, in one line that stays with you. He did wide loads exclusively, and you have to be on your game all the time. That sentence starts describing your job. Then a broker calls with something wider than a lane. It comes with permits and a car in front of you. Level 5. The permit and the pilot car. The load pays $12 to $14 a mile. You spend about $4 of those dollars before you turn a wheel. A heavy haul owner in Lawson, Missouri named Gary Jones runs the same math. He says it out loud. They spend $3 a mile in escorts and $1 a mile in permits. So the job stops being a drive and becomes a route plan. You file oversize permits state by state and county by county. Each one comes back with its own daylight window and its own banned streets. You learn which counties answer the phone and which ones do not. You hire a high-pole car with a fiberglass pole set to your exact load height. You brief the front door and the chase on the radio before anybody moves. Channel confirmed, spacing confirmed, nobody guessing. The oversized load banner goes on the front bumper, the rear of the load, and the pole car's roof. The permit binder for one move weighs more than the paperwork for a year of freight. Then you move at 40 miles an hour with a parade behind you. Outside Tyler, the high pole clips a low signal span. The pole flexes, and the front door calls it in one word. Stop! Back it down. Route around 3 blocks. That pole just saved you a traffic signal and a night in a county impound. That is what $3 a mile buys, and you never resent it again. Nobody in traffic behind you knows what any of this costs. In Texas, anything over 254,300 pounds is super heavy. The permit takes weeks because engineers have to run the bridges first. No truck goes near a rated span until they finish. You get the approval, and you still walk the bridge on foot. The paperwork and the concrete do not always agree. Standing on a rated span at 6 in the morning, looking at a joint, listening for nothing. Then you cross it at walking speed. The steel creaks under you and holds. The escorts call clear on the far side. The whole convoy exhales at once over the radio. The radio stays busy the whole way. You stop thinking in miles. You think in windows. The move lands on schedule with every permit valid and every escort paid. The receiver signs at 8 in the morning like it was easy. Now the only thing left is to stop working for the people who booked it. Level 6. The Superload. You run under your own authority now. Nobody hands you this work, and nobody makes it easy to find. You bid it against companies with their own engineers. A heavy haul operator turning just 40,000 miles a year can bring in about $500,000. The tractor out front is a long hood Peterbilt 389. Behind it is whatever axle configuration the engineering says the job needs. You don't bid loads anymore. You bid moves. The contract is a reactor pressure vessel cask, and it weighs 1,470,000 pounds. A company out of Clackamas, Oregon took that exact cask 400 miles. North Las Vegas to Clive, Utah in 2020. Long-span bridges were off the table at that weight. So the route was built around them instead of over them. Crews fought 50-mile-an-hour winds with sand blasting the equipment for days. The permit package is thicker than a phone book. You walk the route yourself before you price it. Every intersection gets measured twice, once on paper and once on foot. You spend more hours on the phone than in the seat. 24 agencies, a bridge engineer, 2 police departments. A utility crew lifts live lines at 4 intersections. Every one of them has to say yes on the same morning. Then the load moves, and it moves at the speed of a man walking. The convoy takes days, not hours, and you sleep 4 hours at a time. The interstate belongs to you for one afternoon. Nothing about it feels like driving anymore. At the plant, The crane takes it off your deck. It comes down onto the marks with a millimeter to spare. And then there is nothing to hear at all. The man who runs that company called it a very rewarding project. He said they had a great team effort from all of their employees. That move won the industry's hauling job of the year in the top weight class. No injuries, no damage, no recordables. The whole thing rides on one signature at the end. You sign the closeout sheet and hand it back. You have never been calmer in your life. The higher you climb, the less of this job is driving. At the top, you're a project manager who happens to hold a Class A. The truck is maybe a fifth of your day. The rest is permits, engineering, bridge analysis, and phone calls. You talk to people who have never sat in a sleeper. There is no lone trucker at this altitude. You are one man in a convoy of engineers, pilot cars, troopers, and utility crews. Your job is to be the calm one. The calm is the product now, and everybody on the radio can hear it. Nobody claps for a move that goes exactly as planned. That is the whole point of the plan. And the biggest number isn't the best number. A load at $14 a mile can net you less than steady overweight freight. That is what happens once the escorts and the permits are paid. The rate sheet is not the take-home. So the loads that look enormous aren't always the ones that pay. Horsepower was never the hard part of any of this. The trailer was, and the paperwork, and the 50-mile check you never once skipped. You learned that the hard way. In gravel, 3 hours at a time. You still know what a bad strap looks like from 20 feet away. That never leaves. Your knees know every deck you ever climbed. The tarps are somebody else's job now. You missed a cousin's wedding in Amarillo because a permit window opened on a Saturday. You would take that trade again, and you did, twice. Then one morning, you rent a 26-foot U-Haul for $39.95 a day. Your daughter is moving into an apartment across town. The ramp clatters down the same way it did that first morning. It weighs nothing at all. You walk the box first, phone out, the same as you did at 18. You load heavy over the axle, and you say it out loud without meaning to. Then you back it into her driveway on the first try. She asks how you did that. You tell her you used to be nervous doing exactly this, in this exact driveway, at 18, with the line of nobody watching. She does not know any of this, and she does not need to. Then you hand her the key on its plastic fob. You go get coffee while she loads it herself. The other truck is parked at the yard with the banner rolled up behind the seat. The permit binder is on the passenger floor where it lives. The keys are on the hook by the door, and they are yours, hanging where you can see them.